Our community has been shaken by the disappearance of two USF grad students, Nahida and Zamil. I am heartbroken to announce the discovery of human remains discovered on the Howard Frankland Bridge earlier this morning.
3 days before two people were killed, their killer opened his laptop. He wasn't searching for directions. He wasn't booking a flight. He typed, "What happens if a human is put in a black garbage bag and thrown in a dumpster?" The AI told him it sounded dangerous. He typed back, "How would they find out?" That conversation happened on April 13th, 2026. On April 16th, Zamil Limon and Nahida Bristy were last seen alive. They were 27 years old, doctoral students, in love, planning a future together. And the man who typed that question was Zamil's roommate. He had been planning this for weeks, and investigators found every single step. Let's start from the beginning. Zamil Limon and Nahida Bristy came to the United States with the same thing, a plan. Both were 27 years old, both originally from Bangladesh, both doctoral students at the University of South Florida in Tampa, one of the largest research universities in the country. Zamil was pursuing a doctorate in geography, environmental science, and policy. He was known for his consistency, someone who stayed in contact with family even during the busiest stretches of academic life. His brother, Zubair Ahmed, described him as reliable, present, the kind of person you could always reach. Nahida was studying chemical engineering. She had already completed her undergraduate studies at the Bangladesh University of Engineering and Technology, one of the most competitive institutions in the country. She was focused, driven, and according to those who knew her, warm. They had also found each other. Over time, their relationship had grown beyond academia. They were a couple. They had talked about the future, about finishing their degrees, and returning to Bangladesh together. On April 15th, 2026, the night before they were last seen, Zamil's other roommate came home and found him in the kitchen, cooking rice. His scooter was parked outside. Everything was normal. That was the last time anyone outside of that apartment saw Zamil Limon alive. Zamil shared his apartment with two other people. One of them was Hisham Abugharbieh, 26 years old, a former USF student, someone who had lived in close proximity to Zamil, and who knew Nahida from her visits to the apartment. On the surface, nothing stood out. But court records would later reveal that in the weeks before April 16th, Hisham Abugharbieh had been making a series of very specific purchases. April 7th, duct tape, ordered from Amazon. April 11th, fire starter, charcoal, trash bags, lighter fuel, also from Amazon. April 15th, a fake beard, shipped to the apartment. And on the evening of April 13th, 3 days before Zamil and Nahida were last seen alive, he opened ChatGPT. What happens if a human is put in a black garbage bag and thrown in a dumpster? ChatGPT told him it sounded dangerous. How would they find out? That wasn't a one-time search. Between April 13th and April 23rd, investigators found at least 10 separate ChatGPT conversations. April 15th. Can a VIN number on a car be changed? April 15th. Can I keep a gun at home without a license? And then, after Zamil and Nahida were already gone, April 19th. Has there been someone who survived a sniper bullet to the head? April 19th. Will my neighbors hear my gun? April 19th. Is there a water temperature that burns immediately? April 23rd. What does missing endangered adult mean? By that point, law enforcement had already classified Zamil and Nahida as endangered missing. He was searching to find out what investigators were calling them. On the morning of April 16th, both Zamil and Nahida were reachable. Friends were in contact with them during the day. They spoke briefly on the phone several times. Nothing suggested what was coming. Around 10 a.m., Nahida was captured on campus surveillance near the NES building. She was wearing a light pink long-sleeve shirt, long black loose pants, sneakers with white soles. She was holding an umbrella. She was seen walking north from her office. That footage is the last confirmed sighting of Nahida Bristy. That evening, she was supposed to meet a friend to pick up her eyeglasses. She didn't show. She didn't answer calls. Meanwhile, Zamil's phone data showed him moving between his home and campus throughout the day. Then, around 7:43 p.m., his phone location shifted. It began moving toward Clearwater, roughly 32 miles from the apartment. Abugharbieh's car was also in Clearwater at the same time. When investigators later confronted him about this, his story changed. First, he said Zamil and Nahida had never been in his car, that he had never gone to Clearwater. Then, when shown the phone and vehicle data, he said he had driven them there, that Zamil had asked for a ride, that he dropped them off and left. He said he went there to look for fishing spots. He also deleted his location history. That night, around 11 p.m., a DoorDash order arrived at the apartment. Trash bags, Lysol wipes, Febreze, Funyuns, Irish Spring body wash. At 12:26 a.m. on April 17th, he asked ChatGPT, "Are cars checked at the Hillsborough River State Park?" Then, around 1:30 a.m., his phone stopped moving. On the Howard Frankland Bridge. He was there again nearly 3 hours later, in the exact location where Zamil Limon's body would be found 1 week later. We're not done, because what investigators found inside that apartment is the part of this case that changes everything. And Nahida's family was told something on April 25th that no family should ever have to hear. Stay with me. When investigators processed the apartment, what they found was not the scene of a sudden conflict. It was the scene of something that had been cleaned. Forensic enhancement agents applied to the floors revealed blood, not a small amount, a broad pattern, from the entry foyer, through the kitchen, into the hallway, and toward Abugharbieh's bedroom. Inside his bedroom, on the floor, investigators found 2 distinct patterns saturated into the carpet. Patterns consistent with a human-sized shape, consistent with smearing and dragging. Under his bed, trash bags, identical to the ones later found on the Howard Frankland Bridge. And in Zamil's bedroom, Nahida's sneakers, her umbrella, a coin purse containing her USF student ID, and her credit cards. The same shoes she was seen wearing on campus surveillance that morning. She had been in that apartment. Abugharbieh was also examined. When investigators first approached him, he had a cut on his left pinky. He said he had been slicing onions. He couldn't remember what he was cooking. A warrant later revealed lacerations on both of his legs and a wound on his upper left arm. A third roommate also told investigators that sometime late on April 16th or in the early hours of April 17th, he had seen Abugharbieh using a cart to move cardboard boxes from his room to the apartment complex's compactor dumpster. On April 17th, the day after Zamil and Nahida were last seen, a mutual friend contacted USF police after being unable to reach either of them. Missing persons reports were filed. Both students were entered into the National Missing Persons Database. USF police pinged Zamil's phone. The signal showed a path from campus toward Clearwater Beach, and then nothing. Search teams were deployed. Divers entered the water. Investigators began working outward from every known data point. Attention turned to Abugharbieh almost immediately. His story shifted in interviews. His phone data didn't match his account. And when investigators looked at his digital footprint, they found the ChatGPT searches. On April 23rd, the case was upgraded to endangered missing. That same day, Abugharbieh searched ChatGPT. What does missing endangered adult mean? The following morning, April 24th, Pinellas County deputies responded to the Howard Frankland Bridge at 6:15 a.m. They had found a black trash bag on the west side of the northbound lane. Inside, human remains. They were positively identified as Zamil Limon. The medical examiner confirmed his death was a homicide. Multiple sharp force injuries. A deep stab wound to his lower back, penetrating his liver. Hours later, law enforcement responded to a domestic situation at a home in Lutz, Florida, connected to Abugharbieh's family. A SWAT team was deployed. The area was secured. After a period of negotiation, Hisham Abugharbieh walked out with his arms raised and was taken into custody. The arrest brought answers, but not all of them. On April 25th, investigators called Nahida's family in Bangladesh. Her brother, Zahid Hassan Pronto, took that call. He was told that based on the volume of blood found in the apartment, investigators believe Nahida was also dead. He was also told that her body may never be found. On April 26th, two kayakers were fishing in the mangroves near Interstate 275 and 4th Street North in St. Petersburg. One of their fishing lines snagged on something in the water. He had to go further into the mangroves to free it. He smelled something he later described as indescribable. When he got closer, he saw a plastic bag, opened by salt water. He couldn't tell what was inside, but it looked like a human body. He did the right thing. He called law enforcement. On May 1st, 2026, exactly 3 weeks after Nahida was last seen alive, the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office confirmed what her family had been dreading. The remains recovered from that waterway were Nahida Bristy. Identification was made through DNA, dental records, and the clothing she still had on. The same light pink long-sleeve shirt, the same long black loose pants, the same sneakers with white soles that she was wearing when she walked across campus for the very last time. Like Zamil, she had suffered multiple stab wounds. Her body had been in an advanced stage of decomposition. She had been in that water for 10 days. Sheriff Chronister stood at the podium and said, "The details of this investigation are gruesome, and the actions of the suspect are nothing short of pure evil." Nahida's brother Zahid Pronto was notified hours before that press conference. He told reporters, "People should not be going through this kind of situation." Her dream was to return to Bangladesh, to work there, to do something big, to contribute to society. She was the perfect sister, her brother said. She was the perfect daughter of her family. The sheriff confirmed that both Nahida and Zamil's remains are now being released, for religious reasons, to their families in Bangladesh. They came here to build something. They are going home in ways no one ever imagined. Hisham Abugharbieh now faces 2 counts of first-degree premeditated murder with a weapon. He is also charged with unlawfully moving a dead body, failure to report a death with intent to conceal, tampering with physical evidence, false imprisonment, and battery. He is being held without bond. But this case has raised a question that goes far beyond this courtroom. Because Abugharbieh didn't use a search engine, he didn't type his questions into Google. He used ChatGPT. He had a conversation with an AI. about how to dispose of a human body. ChatGPT told him it sounded dangerous. He asked how they would find out, and the AI continued the conversation. Florida's Attorney General responded within days. His office announced they were expanding their criminal investigation into OpenAI to include this case. OpenAI responded that ChatGPT had provided factual information that could be found across public sources and had not encouraged illegal activity. That debate about what AI tools are responsible for when someone uses them to plan a crime is now playing out in courts and legislatures across the country. And this case is at the center of it. Zamil Limon came to Tampa to study how the environment works, how systems connect, how things that seem unrelated are actually part of the same pattern. Nahida Bristy came to study chemical engineering, the building blocks of matter, how things are put together, and how they break apart. They were both 27, both far from home, both exactly where they were supposed to be. What the evidence shows is that the person who shared a home with Zamil had been planning this for weeks. He ordered supplies. He researched methods. He bought a fake beard. He deleted his location history. And in between all of that, he asked an AI chatbot for advice. A man is in custody. Charges have been filed. Both Zamil and Nahida have been found. But the question of why, what drove a 26-year-old man to plan and carry out the deaths of two people he lived alongside, has not been publicly answered. Sheriff Chronister said his detectives are anxiously searching for that answer. That answer may come at trial, or it may never come at all. This case is still developing. The trial has not begun. Nahida's remains have not been formally confirmed, and the question of motive is still open. When new information comes in, we'll cover it. Subscribe to Then They Vanished so you don't miss those updates. And I want to hear from you in the comments. The fact that he used ChatGPT to plan this, does that change how you think about AI tools? Should there be limits? Because that's the question the legal system is now being forced to answer. And it started with two doctoral students who just wanted to build a life. Zamil's family has one wish, that whoever is responsible faces the full weight of justice, not just for Zamil and Nahida, but for every international student who crossed an ocean believing they were safe.